A high-flying appearance by Prince George.
And surprise, surprise, questions now surround Meghan Markle's upcoming trip to the UK. Hi, all. Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives into the fascinating world of two of the most recognized royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
And I'm Rupert Bell, bringing you updates from the UK. I've actually got a week of watching some tennis, working at Wimbledon. You never know, the Princess of Wales no doubt will make an appearance at some stage during the fortnight, but I'll be bringing you all the other news that concerns both the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Well, if Prince William wasn't already the most attractive man in the world, Rupert, now we find out that he's become a billionaire.
Uh,
Be still, my
oh,
beating heart.
you shallow creature, you. It's all about the money. Show me a billionaire. Yes, of course, the tax situation has been revealed, and obviously, being the in charge of the Duchy of Cornwall, which is a huge business operation, well, he is responsible for it, and his personal wealth has gone up 500 times. Unfortunately, last time I looked, he's happily married and there are no vacancies, Kinsey. So your beating heart is obviously going to just have to keep beating because he may not be turning his attention towards you. But
That's okay. I do love his wife.
yeah, it is interesting that we've talked about this before, the way the royal family are having now to sort of declare their sort of financial interests. And I actually do think this is a good thing. Now, it could open for criticism, and I'm sure there will be people saying, look how rich they are, and this isn't right, and why do they get any money? But he gets his income from the Duchy of Cornwall. Now, he has paid a lot of tax, but they say, I think, according to this report, his income was between 26 and 29 million pounds. Well, that is a bucket load of cash,
Mhm.
but that is for his personal use, obviously, and to run his office and everything else. Look, he's paying £300,000 a month for rental. Well, if you times that by 12, that's a part of it already on his rental on Forest Lodge. So that's the way it works for him. I actually did think there were some interesting things that came out of it, particularly when it comes to Dartmoor Prison,
Mhm.
and which he gets rent for, but it's unused. And what he's going to no longer take the rent from that, but ring fence the 1.5 million that comes from the government to try and invest in the village of Princeton, which is near where Broadmoor Prison is, which was a high security prison, and for to try and regenerate the local economy. So there were some good takeaways from that, but obviously it shows that since he's become the in charge of the Duchy of Cornwall, an extremely wealthy man in his 40s.
And what if I keep reading, like it might surprise people to know that King Charles is not as wealthy as Prince William, but it's the inheriting of the Duchy of Cornwall that has made Prince William surpass King Charles. King Charles's personal fortune continues to grow. He's not quite a billionaire. The latest Sunday Times rich list estimates the king's wealth at approximately 846 million. It's not a bad day, you know? It's
Yeah,
not a bad day.
well,
It's not a bad number to see in the bank. An increase from the previous year, but still well behind Prince William. It's another reminder that while King Charles wears the crown, the Duchy of Cornwall has made whoever the Prince of Wales is one of the wealthiest heirs in Britain. So, ladies, if you're of the age of like 12 years old to, I don't know, nine, I'd start manifesting a Prince George
no,
marriage.
no, you can't start doing that. Poor George, poor George. I'm putting a protective arm around George. Now back off, ladies. Look, he's getting very tall, but I think it does show. Of course, this money, the Duchy of Cornwall, the Duchy of Lancaster, these are old titles. This is the royal wealth has sort of accumulated over the years. And obviously, before there was very little transparency as to what they did, the royal family did with the money. But the world has changed, and I do think it is important that because of their role within the state and how it's managed, I do think it is very important that there is as much transparency as is possible that doesn't necessarily go beyond, what is a degree of privacy. It is interesting what we read or heard about Buckingham Palace, that the king doesn't want to live there. He wants to live in Clarence, to continue to live in Clarence House. It
But
will
we've
still
predicted
be,
that. We've predicted that for a
yeah,
while.
yeah, and I think there's no surprise there. Clarence House just round the corner. The place has been refurbished. I think there's also the aim to try and open it up more to the public so it becomes more of a, not a museum piece, but then would be used for state occasions and important state business that the royal family are responsible for. That would include big dinners, etc. But in terms of, like the Queen did, living there, those days are gone. And it will be interesting what Prince William does down the line. He says Forest Lodge is forever home, but how practical will it be when he becomes king that that is his forever home? So there's going to be some, this will be the interesting thing as to what will be where will he seem that the most sensible place to live. Now, obviously, that's a long-term decision for him rather than a short-term decision. But it is something that will have to be navigated for Prince William when he becomes king. Does he want Windsor and Forest Lodge to be the permanent bolt hole? But where will his office be, as it were, when he becomes king? His primary office.
It will be interesting. Let's discuss Prince George again while you've got your protective arm around him. We saw the sweetest images and video of the Princess of Wales and Prince George. They made a surprise appearance over the weekend for a special visit in honor of Armed Forces Day. And it does seem to me like they include Prince George in a lot of their veteran engagements. We see him engaging with, we've seen him over the years engaging with veterans, especially pilots. So this is clearly a personal passion of his. He's 12 years old. It's unbelievable to think that he's 12 years old in the pictures of him standing next to his mother, because he is almost as tall as his mom. And it's just giving us a little glimpse of what we might see when he does officially step into a more public royal role. He was seen taking private, he was seen talking privately to some of the pilots. Apparently, he's been privately taking lessons himself, according to some outlets, which I imagine it's over a computer. I don't know how you do that with a 12-year-old boy, but it's something that he inherited, a passion he clearly inherited from his father.
Yeah, and also I think this visit was released over this weekend. I think it was done a couple of weeks prior, quietly sort of going about their business. But we saw the pictures, and I think it's bearing in mind, of course, the king is the commander in chief of our armed forces, so it is a very important part of the king's role as is with a relationship with the armed forces. We saw the trooping of the colour as a case in point. The royal family's very close links to the military. Now, will George serve in the military? There is, I suppose, a distinct possibility, although it is fraught with difficulties should you end up in a conflict situation. What do they do about the king, the future king? But does seem to have a genuine interest. I think we saw, was it last year with him, and the way that the Prince and Princess of Wales engaging with veterans and talking to people, getting him used to talking to the public. Because let's be honest, as a 12-year-old, you probably want to be playing with your friends, don't you?
Yeah.
I would have thought. And
But I
so,
do think Prince William says that they've been very careful about screen time.
yeah, playing with your friends is different than screen time.
Well, yeah,
Being
I just mean like it sounds to me like, yeah, he actually does play with his friends because
yeah.
there's very little screen time for these children.
Well, yeah, and probably not a bad thing for them not to have too much screen time. But more importantly, I think they like to control these, so he gets used to doing these things without it being a sort of live visit that every television cameras are on under them. They can do it in a safe environment where somewhere he can be engaged, show his interest, and look, going to that, and I think seeing Spitfires and other planes and things would have, any boy probably quite likes to go and see that. So I have to say, I think they managed it well, and he looked. Yeah, of course, it's all very
Glossy.
controlled from from a PR perspective. So we get that, but it does show that he is wants to go and do that, and he looked as if he was having a great time, and I think that's they've got to nurture his enthusiasm for these things because it's not easy. If he thinks about it, I'm 12. And I'm going to be going to an awful lot of places, and I'm going to be an awful lot of schmoozing, and it's a daunting prospect. I mean, if we thought that age 12, that's what I'm going to be doing. So it behoves William and Catherine to make sure that he feels, they can bring him along slowly. And involved in the armed forces is a perfect way to do that. So I thought it was a good move. Another good move. They're playing the PR game well, the Wales is at the moment. As all around it gets a bit chaotic and dealing with the tax thing, and probably came out at a good time when, if you see what I mean, there's, not burying bad news or good news. I'm not saying that they were doing anything of the sort, but as you know, we've got a lot of political shenanigans going on in this country at the moment. So the news agenda is dominated with other things, which means that the sort of intense scrutiny of what's gone on is probably not quite as much as it could have been if we hadn't had we haven't had another changing our prime minister again, as
Again.
we are at the moment.
I like that you talked about how they did this in kind of a protected bubble for Prince George so it wouldn't be overwhelming with all the media clamoring to get the shot. They released this on social media, a video with the caption honoring service and sacrifice, a powerful reminder of the courage, skill, and dedication of those who serve, past and present. Thank you to those who've served and continue to serve. But it is fun to watch them at trooping because if you see their faces initially when they get into the carriage, the children look at each other, despite doing this once a year, look at each other like they kind of can't believe. Like Louis will look at them like they're just so excited to see me. And it's like really, they're not, I don't think that they're overwhelmed or uncomfortable, but I do think that they're certainly surprised by the positive response that they generate.
And they do seem to enjoy it. And look, we all enjoyed it. Let's be honest. We had the most amazing time. It was great and great to see. Look, it must be slightly strange to leave getting into a carriage and then you being waved at, gawped at. Look, it's something we will never understand and experience. But your birth has put you in this position.
And Meghan got
Um,
to, and she blew it.
Well, we know that, but no, don't go early yet. Don't go early. I can. There will be plenty of opportunity to steam to come out of my ears over the next 40 minutes or so if when we move on to the Sussexes. I'm trying to look at the positive stories that we've seen of late, of which the Waleses have provided plenty. The Ascot, obviously, for the King, he's been up in Scotland. So there's been a lot going on. The summer holidays will be upon the Waleses soon and then obviously for George, this will be his last holiday before he embarks on his new school time. And I mean, it's an emotional time. I remember, like people when you're moving from school after you've had 5 years with a lot of friends and then suddenly you're moving on. Although I would suggest that
Yes.
he'll have a lot of people from Lambrook where he's at school, where there will be other boys who will be going on to Eton because it's a bit of a feeder school. So he will have lots of familiar faces around him in his year when he goes to Eton, which is quite a good thing. You're not suddenly a fish out of water thinking who, as a spotty 12-year-old, you turn up or 13-year-old and suddenly you don't really know anyone. So it can be quite a daunting moment when you change schools. But I think he'll probably have friends around him who he will have seen and been at Lambrook with over the last few years.
You were at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
We often see the Princess of Wales there. What's her role there, and in what circumstances might we see her in the next few weeks or days?
Well, she has a big role with the All England and Lawn Tennis Club, so she's very much at the forefront. And last year, we remember, 12 months ago, was one of her first proper public appearances. So there was, and she was at the final, and I think Charlotte was there as well. So it was a big, so it is an important weekend, the finals weekend, which is obviously not this Saturday and Sunday, but the following Saturday and Sunday. And so you would expect her to be there. Whether she will come any other time, that remains to be seen. She's a huge tennis fan, but it's a quite complicated thing to do. She's normally there to present the prizes, so I would expect her probably to be there for finals weekend. But whether she makes any other appearances in a row with the All England Lawn Tennis Club, they love having her down there. It's great for the sport. And for Wimbledon, it's good publicity because as soon as she turns up, and last year I think she was quite taken aback, if you remember when she turned up and the affection that the crowd had for her and the sort of genuine. I think you could see the pictures going, oh, this was really
Moving.
heartwarming.
Mm-hmm.
And look, she's on an easy wicket because obviously everyone who goes there likely to be most people supportive and of what she's been through, but who she is. So, but I think that there was a huge level of affection for her when she turned up 12 months ago, and I don't think anything different this year.
So the Princess of Wales has completed the National Three Peaks Challenge, and this is a grueling 23-mile trek that involves climbing the highest mountains in Scotland, England, and Wales, all within 24 hours. And what makes this achievement so remarkable to me is the timing. You know, this is just 18 months post Catherine revealing that she was in remission. Today, she's taking on one of Britain's toughest endurance challenges while raising money for the cancer hospital that cared for her during her treatment. And she seems really emotional about that. And you know what? This wasn't a glamorous royal appearance either, or what we've become so used to with the other pair, carefully staged photo op. This was hard work. It was determination. It was resilience. And I do know that Catherine has always been athletic, but after everything she's faced over the past couple of years, this feels symbolic, even. Like it's a reminder that recovery isn't simply about surviving an illness, it's about rebuilding your strength, regaining that confidence, and moving forward one step at a time. And in my opinion, it's also the kind of leadership that people have come to expect from this future queen. Rather than talking about perseverance, she continues to demonstrate it. And I think that's why so many people really admire her.
Well, I have to say, it was really heartwarming to see that walk that the Princess of Wales has done, the Three Peaks Challenge, which, let's be honest, is a pretty physically demanding exercise anyway, climbing the three highest peaks in Scotland, Wales and England. I think she did it in 23 hours, which is pretty impressive. And you have to say, what a wonderful effort. It shows that she's now physically in a much better place. The sentiments of why she did it are there for all to see. But then once again, it's unfortunately not probably going to get the publicity it deserves because the continuing Prince Harry and, well, Duke and Duchess of Sussex, will they, won't they trip coming to the UK. So very frustrating, I'm sure, for William and Catherine, but overall an amazing achievement that needs to be applauded. So fair play and a really positive news story when there's often so much negativity around other aspects of the royal family.
Well, that's a good transition. According to The Sun, Prince Harry will not receive enhanced security for his upcoming trip to the UK next month, raising fresh questions about whether Meghan Markle, Archie, and Lili will ultimately accompany him. The Royal and VIP Executive Committee, RAVIC, has declined requests for additional protection just days before Harry is scheduled to return to Britain for a series of engagements. This is coming from The Sun. Rupert, We have
Yeah.
been saying for weeks now, we'll believe it when we see it. Is this all just a giant publicity stunt? And then you see a headline like this, and you're like, this is starting to look like a giant publicity stunt.
Yeah, when I read it last night, and I just well, Saturday night when the story came out, I'm going, oh no, this is just ridiculous because we've had all the drip feeding coming out, going to see the grave of Diana, going to Invictus. Meghan might make some public appearances, but probably won't with the children. Where they're going to stay, and then you get the story. Well, now they may not come because he's not happy with the security arrangements. It just feels like they're trying to blackmail the royal family into doing, if you don't, we'll go off in another hissy fit. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where it makes me pull my hair out
Yeah.
because I just don't understand it. Because either you're coming here, just get on the plane, get here, and try and repair the damage. Yes, you're doing Invictus, Harry. That's important to you. Get on the plane, go and do that at the NEC in Birmingham a year ahead. Have a chance to promote and get on and go and do your other charities. But the rest is a sideshow. It turns it into a flipping soap opera. It's
Well,
not an
and they
episode.
they don't help when they approve releases of quotes like this. A source close to Harry and Meghan accused the Home Office and the committee responsible for assessing their security of willfully creating conditions that are making it nearly impossible for them to move around Britain. I mean, when is the mentee B going to stop? I just feel like Harry is
What?
constantly having a mental breakdown, and I want to be, I don't want to witness it anymore. If you don't get your way, the natural reaction isn't to fight the people that aren't giving you your way. The smart reaction is to pivot and find a solution.
And the thing is, there will be a degree of security.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna. If he stays in a royal residence somewhere, there's a natural level of security around that. And if he's in a Windsor, whatever, there is protection. And no one's. I'm certainly saying he shouldn't not have security of some description. Whether he is still a member of the royal family, he may not be a working royal, so he might be perceived a person that is, I'm not saying vulnerable, but you know what I mean. He could be someone who is in the public eye, so that and particularly could cause a problem. So I know there should be security, but he obviously feels he wants the bells and whistles variety,
Because
so they
remember,
can.
he complained about how he was late to every one of his engagements one of the last times he was in the United Kingdom because he didn't have the big, presidential motorcade
Well,
that he wants,
well,
that Prince William has and that King Charles has. And it's just like, you just need to accept that that's not your reality anymore, buddy. Leave 15 minutes early. Suck it
yeah,
up.
well, absolutely. Sort your program to take into the fact that you're like everybody else who has a series of meetings and will have to get round. Yes, there will be some protection around, I'm sure, because they're not going to just leave him floundering and, put him on the tube and then, leave him like that. And that's just not going to happen. So this is what is so frustrating. That the fee it's another hissy fit coming from the Sussexes. And this has got to stop. Because if the royal family want to build trust again, and he wants to build trust, then he's just got to come here, no fuss, no bother, get on with it and say, look, new me, let's try and repair what has
I've
happened.
matured. I've matured
But,
because that's what was so interesting to me. I saw Sussex sources trying to say that there was no animosity. Oh, I think that this was Dan Wakeford, maybe. Dan Wakeford talking to somebody that said that there's no animosity between the brothers anymore, that both had matured. And I do think that Prince William is incredibly mature. I think that Harry's just not on his radar and he would prefer not to have to deal with him. But Harry continues to show us that he's not evolved, he's not matured, and that he remains a very bitter, vengeful, and paranoid individual.
yeah, he is. And so this endless, well, I'm coming, and then we get a story like last night. So I will be when they turn up. I hope if Harry, then he gets on the plane, and he's been here on his own since over the early part of the year. Then get on the plane, leave your children at home, and get on and do what you had to do. And if you meet up with a few friends or whatever, then that's it.
But
If
didn't
you
we
feel,
didn't we predict this, Rupert, that Harry had no intention. I mean, I've said this. I've said Harry has no intention of the children meeting his father. He wanted to set the story up so that he could remain in victim mode and say, "Well, I couldn't bring the kids because I didn't get the security I needed. So my dad, who I go on the BBC and everywhere else and say is responsible for my lack of security, is still the bad guy." I mean, I don't know if Meghan and the kids will come. I've always said I'll believe it when I see it, but there does seem to be a new layer of desperation that surprises me.
yeah, and for 5 days bringing two small children. I mean, if that's how long the visit is supposed to be, I mean, they should be bringing those and be here for a couple of weeks.
I've heard it was potentially 2 weeks, but
Well, then if they're coming here for 2 weeks, get the visits over and done with, and then just go under the radar, disappear, and pop up again. Next time we see you is when you pop up back again in Montecito. Don't want to see them. That's that, do the week of duties or whatever, and then take your children and go and stay with,
Earl
and also,
Spencer.
yeah, go and stay there, yeah, and meet his new wife, or whatever, which he's had a few. So, but so I would be saying that go there. That seems to me a perfectly sensible place to go. It's a lovely place he lives in, ideal for two small children, have a great deal of fun. So be here and don't just bring them over for 2 weeks and then sugar off. So let's be honest, we don't know. But the vibes coming up, unless people are making this stuff up, we get the feeling the Sussex PR machine are trying to say, look, we want to come, but actually, it's not our fault. We don't feel safe. I don't get that. I'm pretty sure they all should be able to feel safe. Uh, and we're given that they've been to Colombia, they've been to Nigeria, they go to Australia, then
Well, and
they've
if and,
got,
and let's be honest, if you're staying at Buckingham Palace, if you're staying at Windsor Castle, you have the
oh,
security. There are armed guards at every
yeah.
corner. You have
So,
the ultimate security if you are within the royal fold, and that's always been the rules. And you're always invited when you
mhm,
inform the royal family that you're coming. The king always says, "Well, here are some options for you to stay."
yeah.
It's my understanding that Harry says, "No, thanks. I'll be at Soho House."
Well, then that's his problem. If he wants
Yeah.
to be at Soho Farmhouse or Soho House in London, whatever, then that's his problem. Then, we can't completely guarantee if you want to go off piste and stay somewhere you like, uh, if you can afford, you foot the bill. We won't foot the bill. But if you want a free accommodation with me, then fair play. Here it is. But that's why I think the whole thing is so frustrating, and people just roll their eyes. And I'm sure members of the royal household are doing exactly the same, thinking, where's this come from? On the other hand, that we might be hearing there may still be happening, and Invictus Harry may still come, but will he come with his wife and the entourage that she will bring to this country? Because obviously there will be the children. I assume there'll be a nanny in tow, and others will be in tow.
And they do
To
have their own security detail, and it'll
Yeah.
be a larger security detail if Harry is bringing the wife and the children. But Rupert, if Harry's position is that the UK is unsafe without the protection he's requested, can he realistically reverse course without raising questions about hypocrisy, consistency? Like, will he look like a joke if Meghan and the kids do come? Because we've seen that he's been formally rejected.
Well, bearing in mind we still haven't had the results of this court case and everything that's going on, so he's in a
What what
sensitive.
what court case? The Daily
Oh no,
Mail?
but but all these things are all part of what he's trying to justify and the threat he feels as an individual. His whole thing has been the whole thing's full of hypocrisy since the moment he left on the Freedom flight. You know, that was the worst thing. Freedom flight. My goodness me. And then the privacy issue, what he does with the children, you know, these secret little the shots from the back view and all this stuff. But we must protect juniors and children's privacy on social media. Yet they're using them as a vehicle and always seems to be as a counterpoint to what the royal family have done. Whether
I know
it
what
be
we're waiting for Meghan's response to the sweet Prince George picture on Instagram of the Princess of Wales and George. The countdown is on to see how Meghan counters that.
well, he'll be seen flying an F-16, presumably. But remember, of course, Harry won that. What airman award did he get?
Legend in aviation, living
Legend
legend in aviation.
So I'm sure he's got a few contacts with the Legends of Aviation team to come up with a photo op for
Archie.
For Archie, or maybe Lilibet.
Yeah, we prefer Lily over in Montecito.
So Lily, yes. There would be opportunities. So we're being, and it wouldn't be at all surprising if something like that did happen. But he must have contacts. I just feel that they are again making something that should be such a simple thing to do. Harry coming over to support things that are close to his heart, Meghan coming over, but we get this sideshow of what's going on. Will he, won't he, where's she going, where are they staying? It's just so unedifying and frustrating, I think, for all and sundry. And it's an eye-rolling moment. And I just get I wonder what we're next going to read between now and next week when they're supposedly coming over.
Agree. Based on everything you know about executive protection, is Britain objectively unsafe for Harry's family, or is this a dispute over the level of protection being provided because Harry feels inadequate without what his brother has?
I would say this country is as safe as anywhere. I mean, America, is that any less safe than sometimes what you read about? What you read about and the reality on the ground can be two different things. And given where he's staying, the protection, he is reasonably safe. You could never guarantee, never say never, but I would think they should feel as safe as anywhere. That's why I think that is what is frustration. No one's it depends where you go as well. It's like all these things. If I go to parts of Los Angeles, it might be, again, that might not be much fun.
Skid Row is very different from Santa Monica, Boulevard or, you know.
Yeah. And where he's going to be saying Soho Farmhouse or one of the royal estates, it's all, I would say he's as safe as you would expect. And there should be no cause for alarm from Meghan and the children. As long as they've said, this is what we're planning to do, they probably will analyze the threat. And if they suddenly think there is something else going on, then maybe we do see an increase in protection. But where you see the Tyndall, Zara and Tyndall and Mike Tyndall going around on the other members of the royal family, they seem to be able to conduct themselves pretty safely and sensibly and knowing that there's nothing to be overtly worried about. And that's where I think people get frustrated, because if they just came in here and behaved normally under the radar, probably there would be nothing to worry about. But it's this need for attention. You almost think that could lead to people saying, well, I want some nutter out there would want to have a go. And that's where the problem is.
I spoke to a professional security expert, Will Geddes. I'm sure you're familiar with him. Yeah. And Will Geddes said that there is a lot of manipulation going on behind the scenes to try to secure what they want. The headline in January was that Ravik was going to reassess. They were going to do a full report and reassess Prince Harry's security status, and he was likely to get it. Well, the reports that are in, thanks to Matt Wilkinson, that Ravik didn't even reassess. They didn't even think it was worthy of reassessing Harry's security status. That, debate or that meeting never even happened. And here we are with not a changed decision. Harry lost the court case trying to force his hand, and nothing has changed. So I guess I would say to you, if Harry and his family do come under the current security arrangements, does that suggest those arrangements were always capable of supporting a safe visit? And if that's the case, how does that reflect on Harry and Meghan for keeping King Charles's grandchildren away from him for so long?
I would suggest that it's quite safe for them to come here. It's their shout. Meghan doesn't really want to come here.
Mm-mm.
Let's get to the gist and the brouhaha of the whole thing is she's not fussed about coming here because she knows she's on stony ground. And it'd be very interesting to know whatever public event she does, it will be very closely managed if she does go to the Invictus, and very managed from the moment she arrives to the end. So there'll be a level of, she'll be telling the organizers, keep me away from anything that's remotely controversial. She would be safe here. I am pretty sure that if she decided to come here, there should be no cause for alarm. They will have some level of protection. The people will be assessing the threat, knowing he's coming here. That's what they do the whole time. The royal family have experts, and I'm sure they'll be saying, right, everything seems, there's nothing, no cause for alarm. You're going there, there, and there. Right, everything, that feels fine. So this is the problem. At the heart of it, I think there's a reluctance from Meghan to come back here, even though she's desperate to promote and continue her links with the royal families to enhance her brand.
Were you surprised that Rafik declined to provide any additional protection, despite Harry in general being a high profile return, high profile engagements, and the alleged addition of his family? Because I think I think that I assumed, and I think I've said, come on, if Harry brings the wife and the kids, of course he's going to get more protection. And I have heard, although I haven't confirmed, that Harry did not give them the information about Meghan and the kids coming initially. When he had to give them the 28 days notice, that information came later. But I honestly, and I'm not disappointed or anything, Rafik knows what the hell they're doing. I give them kudos. But I do think I was surprised that they wouldn't get additional protection with Meghan and the kids. But they know things we don't.
Yeah, but the protection, I think, will just be there around. If they're going to see members of their family, I'm sure that there will be a level of protection anyway. And Rafik don't want anything to happen to them.
Yeah.
So, there's just to think, oh, we'll leave them and wash our hands of them. They'll keep tabs on what's going on and making sure that they know what Harry's just got to say, this is where I'm going to be. This is what we're doing. And work accordingly. Here's his timetable of what he's planning to do. Away we go. Rafik will look at it.
But Rupert, do you think the public sometimes confuses not receiving automatic state protection with having no security at all? I guess that's an important.
Yeah. There is some degree of security. It's not necessarily at the level that Harry wants, because they want the bells and whistles. And that's what they are saying. No, we don't do that. If you want bells and whistles, you better pay for that. That's your choice. Bring in your own security detail. But we're not going to.
But his argument is that he can't pay for armed guards legally. He's not allowed to pay for armed guards. But
but there would be yes. But if he's got a bodyguard, we don't have people don't carry guns in here in this country, in theory. So, but he would have people around him monitoring the situation, and I think it's very convenient. And now we're seeing the sort of possibilities of not coming. It's quite convenient, I think, because then they've got an easy thing. We're not safe, not coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that again will make Rafik look bad. The royal family we know won't say anything. So
and I think he's trying to make his dad look bad. I think he's trying to blackmail his dad into giving him what he wants, which is security.
Well, I think his dad should say, Harry, just shut up, get your backside over here and come over here, bring your children, and stop whinging and get over here.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's got, that sounds a bit draconian and a bit brutal. But in many ways, I think that's what a lot of people think. Just get your butt over here and then come over and we can see where we go from there. But nothing, every time it's turning into an episode of The Crown. And
Yeah.
and we don't need that. The king doesn't need that.
We don't want
He
it
should, he,
either.
yeah, and he wants to just get on, and hopefully he'll be up in Scotland and go and have a lovely time in Scotland, which he absolutely adores. The children should be up there, running around the Scottish moors and glens and having a lovely time up there, away from the madding crowd, as we've said before. But at
Nobody
the
would
moment,
even know they were barefoot unless Meghan Markle posted pictures of it. You talked about the leaks that have happened over the
mm,
last few weeks since this initial announcement that both Harry and Meghan were coming and bringing the kids. Here's one that really got under my skin. The Sun reporting that Harry wants to take Archie and Lili to Princess Diana's grave during the visit. Diana buried on a private island at Althorp. And while Harry has visited over the years and reportedly brought Meghan there in 2022, the children have never been. It's obviously an emotional headline, Rupert, but it's also another reminder that nearly every Sussex story seems to blend a deeply personal moment with a very public rollout. Whether that visit actually happens, we don't know, but we should have never heard about it before it happened. And we're hearing about it because they wanted us to. And these kids are so small, like they're not going to understand what's going on. It's too soon to introduce them to something so
well,
morbid, in my opinion.
all we should be hearing about, we're going to stay at Althorp. That's it. What they do there, not for public consumption. Harry's going to see his uncle and he's going to spend some time with his uncle's family. That's what he's doing. What that means, we don't need to hear the soap opera element. And I'm sure it's anyone who visits their parents' grave, it's always an emotional thing. But we don't need to hear about it. And it's a sort of victimhood. Oh, here we go. We're taking our children to have this special moment in this lovely place, which fine. But I just want, if they're going to Althorp, which seems to me a perfectly sensible place to go and stay with your uncle. Again, it can be private. It's a big enough place. They can have a really good time there. But we don't need to hear that they're going to have a special moment where the children are going to be there. And if we see photographs of it, then
Oh
that
my
just would
God.
be absolutely despicable. I'm not
Vile.
vile, and we don't need to see it. That's a private thing for the family, but not at any stage should anything come out and in the public domain about that. That if that is the case and they go there, it should be a really private visit and for them to share as a family and reflect whatever it means to them. But if it's used for some publicity to promote the brand, then that's just another new low as far as I'm concerned.
Agree. Well, do you agree with us, disagree with us? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Rupert Bell, we'll have a lot of answers this time next week.
Well, I think we're going to be meeting up in person. I think I've managed to sort my diary out, but I'm going to spend a watching people hitting balls over a net for a week, including Meghan's great friend Serena Williams, who's making
That's
a
right.
comeback age 44 with a wild card. So a great friend. I don't know how close they are, but
Yeah.
anyway, they supposedly. But anyway, so I'm looking
I
forward to.
just assumed you were being facetious.
Yeah, well, I love Wimbledon. Been working there since 1994 and have barely missed a day's play since then. So once again, I'm really looking forward to watching some tennis for a few days.
Well, you can give us your recap and your review of the Princess of Wales's potential outfit because she's always
Right.
dressed to the nines, and I know you love Catherine fashion. So
Yeah, well, look,
you'll
I've
give us
got.
you'll give us
Last
that
week it
review
was all
next week.
jelly. What were we talking about last week? The jelly cats, or what were we talking about
Yeah,
last week?
Jellycats, dude.
Oh, jelly cats. That seems to cause a bit of a stir. And I'm still none the wiser, but hey ho.
Why were they
You're
mad? Are they mad at us? Or are they mad at me for
No,
liking
no,
jelly?
no. They've just felt sorry for me and
Oh.
sympathetic that I hadn't been jelly-catted. If there
I'll
is
give
such a
you
thing.
one. I'll give you one when I see you.
Right, okay. I look forward to being jelly-catted by Kinsey. Very good. Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.